So we try to create content that could, let's say, answer different stages of our audience, different life stages. So we could then, once we got the rankings and the traffic, could get a better understanding about who performs best or not. At the same time, I'm a very big fan of resource optimization. So I think um, you need, once you have the traffic, you need to start testing everything, testing the CTAs, testing the wordings, testing everything on the page before saying like, okay, this content doesn't work for us.
Welcome to the Messy Growth Show, where we talk to founders and marketeers of software and manufacturing companies about their path to growth and challenge the conventional beliefs of what works and what does not to help you untangle the path to your growth. Your host on this podcast is Christian Jorgensen, and I am Soren Hansen. So let's get started with today's guest on the Messy Growth Show. Welcome to Messy Growth Show, Dimitris. We connected, I think, about a year ago or something like this, and I've been curious about having you and having this conversation with you for a while, because I think, as we just spoke about in the chat here before we recorded, that you bring something to the table that's going to make everybody, including us, that deals with SEO somewhat relieved. And that really relates to link building, and it's going to bring in something that I think is fairly new. Not new in the business for those of you like you, Demetrius, that knows about it, but for the rest of us, called content velocity. What is that? And then, well, velocity implies something about a lot of content. And now you're into the space of actually running a group of people and organizing around this, some reporting implications. So we're going to be talking about that. But before we do, Dimitris, give us a brief rundown. I know when we connected, you were at Peanut, but you probably have a past before that, and you're doing something else today. So how'd you get into SEO?
Yeah, sure. So my first touch point regarding SEO was like 10 years ago when I first started working as a university student at that time. So I was working for a news media website and as an editor. And then, I was writing some news, and then I was kind of briefly introduced to ICO, and instead of just social media and Facebook were at the very beginning, so organic reach was at 100%. There were no paid ads and posts at that time, but at the same time there was another way you could get traffic, and it was um, organic search. So it was my first introduction. I was feeling really great when, I realized that with following some best practices and ensuring actually my text is great for the viewer, for the visitor, but also for the search engines at that time. I could see my work being at the first page of Google. So this was really fascinating, and it triggered me. It triggered me a lot. So that was my first touch point. Then I spent some years working on the full spectrum of the digital marketing field, but I think um, the last 6 to 7 years is when I really focused on SEO, and over the past 4 years um, I've also added on my skill set the App Store optimization. So I would say that the big turning point started around 5 years ago when I joined Workable as their inbound marketing specialist. I stayed for around 2 years there, then moved. It was one of my biggest decisions over my life so far. I relocated from Athens to London for Revolut, joining the newly established performance marketing team as their first global SEO and ASO manager. Although Revolt at that time had a huge um, growth, and part of it was almost actually was organic, but not organic, from an SEO perspective, but from word of mouth, some referrals, some affiliates, and also the whole product was really great. So I stayed there for another year. Then I moved to Peanut. Stayed for 2 years. I think with Peanut we built a great case study that I carry over now. But I think with Peanut we did some really great. We moved from obscurity to more than 2 million organic visits on a monthly basis in just 12 months. Uh, Pure non-branded and with great teamwork. Uh, so now I'm just a newbie at the fresh product, a fresh app called Paired. So Paired is a relationship app where couples could have through gamification and other things they could boost their relationship and tackle any problems they have, or even even if they don't have a specific problem on their relationship, they can even get the relationship become better and better through experts advice and some gamification. So I joined at the end of this August. I'm just like 2 months there as their head of ACO and ASO. We have a lot of things to do. It's kind of a similar situation with Peanut. Like I'm just here to begin the journey of organic acquisition. So I'm very excited, um, and hopefully we're gonna be here like a year from now, and we can talk about my new case study with Parrot.
Sounds good. So you just mentioned that at Peanut you went from obscurity to a little over 2 million visitors a month.
Yep, that's right.
I mean, that is, and you did that in a period of 12 months, right?
Exactly.
So I went in and I looked at some of Peanuts, and you have made content on if you're looking for names for your boy or girl,
Yeah,
Italian names, English names, American names.
yeah, all the type
There
of baby
is
names.
name listing for everything under the sun.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, for Peanut, like the big challenge was that um we had nothing before I joined. Um, Michelle, the CEO, and yeah, the whole team was wants to bring SEO as the top weapons in our arsenal, but at the same time, we had nothing. And although there weren't direct competitors talking specifically about apps, there were other set competitors that have been in the field for several years and have been investing in SEO for several years. So we had the challenge of like, um, let's find out a way to close this huge gap in a short period of time. So my approach was like publishing velocity. So we try to build topical authority and topic clusters in a really fast way, but with a strategic approach. We didn't keyword randomly, but we tried to group our keywords. Um, of course, we had to find the best combination of like keywords that would have a proper search volume. So being the top result there would translate to some decent amount of traffic, and it would move the needle for us and also showcase that we're doing something good. And at the same time, the keyword difficulty won't be that huge, so we could see sooner uh, um, the results we were aiming for. Baby names was kind of the unlocker for us. Of course, if someone checks, it was around 40 to 50% of the traffic in total, but at the same time, we were also ranking for thousands other keywords that are not related to baby names, but baby names were among the top keywords just because of their nature and, there's a high demand there. So yeah, we started building uh, topic clusters, and I recently, like, although I'm not there anymore, I've recently was taking that The auto suggest of Google now has like baby names and peanut as an auto suggest. So in just like 2 years, we achieved to associate peanut with baby names, peanut content with baby names. So, we built this topical authority, which I think, is a huge achievement. And yeah, if I would stay more there, my goal would be to have more clusters being just like baby names associated with peanut brand in general.
So you mentioned this um, velocity,
Hmm.
uh, and I mean, people have probably heard about this before, but velocity means a lot of content in a short period of time. But that can be if I'm making 2 blog posts a month now, velocity could be 20 blog posts a month. But I think you mentioned at some point you created more than 200 pieces of content a month.
Well,
So
we
what is velocity in your world?
yeah, I think I get this question a lot regarding how much content is good for me to produce, how much content is optimal for SEO, and I think the answer is like the favorite phrase SEOs, like it depends. So it
Yeah.
depends on multiple factors, but I would say that uh, in order to answer this question, you need to do your keyword and competitor research, understand your niche and the keywords that are there and they're you know for you. So you don't like over the last few months and specifically, I think over the past year, Google has made so many broad algorithm updates and also the helpful content update that at the beginning it was like very minor, but the combination with the September's update was cruel for some websites. So I think don't like websites that try to target low hanging fruits, keywords that have a lot of search monthly searches, but at the same time low keyword difficulty, just to gather more traffic, but at the same time they're not related with their niche, like Peanut, for example, trying to let's say target something about car parts, just because we've seen some um, really easy keywords there and with high traffic. Um, it's not working at all. So I think you need to make your keyword research and competitor research first, understand, uh, identify the keywords that you need to target. And based on this, you should plan your content accordingly. I would say that websites that have like 5 or 6 or even 10 pieces of content um, are pretty low on a monthly basis. I would say that 20 to 25 is a good number for someone to start. Of course, this depends on the overall keyword potential, the search potential, your keyword research. But yeah, with Peanut, we've seen that there's a huge amount of keywords that we could target. Like we were actually targeting all the life stages of women. So from um, fertility, pregnancy, to being a mother, or even menopause. And we try to see um, to create actually 3 pillars. The first pillar would be, the keywords that couldn't be grouped with other ones, and at the same time they were combining um, decent monthly searches and low keyword difficulty. The second pillar, which was, let's say the most difficult to create, and the one that actually was that unlocked the draft, was the topic cluster. So how we could group and keywords that could be grouped together, create a theme, a topic cluster, and then start building content around them. One of them were baby names, and we also tried to uh, dive even more deep into this. Like we had the friends' names, and then but we tried to also have friends' girl names and friends' boy names. So we tried to cover holistically the topic and everything around this content. And the third one was like the branded one. For Peanut, I wouldn't say that it was a huge amount of keywords, but still there were some keywords like how does Peanut app work, some FAQs related to questions, even some silly ones that, is Peanut app, and is Peanut a legit app? So I think these were also important keywords because the searching that was pretty clear, straightforward, and we weren't there at the SERPs. While there were some, medium articles or other, reviews, websites saying that peanut is good or
So
peanut is bad.
I don't know if this was part of the September update, but you're saying if you don't have a cluster, if you don't have a topic, then you will not get the benefit out of chasing low hanging, low competition keywords because the cluster and the topic in itself needs to be covered before you can rank fast for the low hanging fruits.
I would say that uh, topic clusters have been through my whole career, one of my main weapons on my in my arsenal. How to rank, how to get more traffic. Um, but I've seen over um, the last 2, 3 Google updates, and it makes total sense that websites that try to target unrelated to their business terms, just because these terms are easy for them to rank and get some traffic, and then they could gain um, um, they monetize this traffic through AdSense or other means.
Yeah.
Um, we're kind of uh, uh, they've seen decrease on their traffic just because it makes sense. Like if you have a website about I don't know baby names, it doesn't make sense for you to also rank for car parts because you're not an expert. You're just doing it for
Of course.
leveraging uh, some low hanging keywords. So I would say the most important part is to make sure that you understand your niche, your industry, and you focus on this keyword specifically. Um, um, I'm pretty sure with extensive keyword research you could find thousands of keywords or hundreds of keywords that could work for you. Then based on this, let's say keywords directory, you could build your content plan, and you can adjust your publishing velocity.
So make sure that we get the clusters and the topics right, and I guess we can make the topics as small or big as we want, but everything that around it that covers the topic is what we need to focus on when we look for low hanging fruits,
Yeah,
because that's going to help in
yeah,
any
yeah. I
direction.
mean, in some cases, you could have keywords that cannot be grouped together, right? So you cannot have a topic cluster around them, but at the same time, they're keywords related to your business. So that's
Uh,
totally fine for you to write about them. Um, I would say just stay out of keywords that they're unrelated, um, and some people, some websites try to leverage them just because they're like easy keywords, but at the end,
yeah.
with all this it content and all this competition, the website that has the expertise and builds topical authority is the one that it would win on the long run. Because even with Peanut, we were facing some problems regarding um, um, trying to compete with websites that they already had in place. Um, um, doctors or other professionals who medically reviewed their articles or fact check their articles. So we were pushing a lot to add this functionality on our blog. We had some of our articles being medically or fact check reviewed, but we still had a lot of work to do. So overall, reader now, just because of the competition, um, he or she needs, something more than just a good SEO. They need to see that you're an expert on the field. They need to uh, to read something and say like, yeah, this makes sense. This is correct. I could even apply these solutions, and I won't say like, oh my God, why I've followed these instructions. This goes anywhere. Like, just like IKEA, you need to at your desk and you have your proper instructions. If the instructions aren't ready or they're not, let's say, 100% correct, and they're like, I don't know, 80% correct, you will end up with problematic solution. So this is something that, brand don't want. And also Google doesn't want to uh, give you results that are not great.
So how do you
But
deal
I
with this
mean,
on scale, Dimitris? I mean, you need high quality content that is, especially in the areas where you publish content, is if people do things wrong or you write something bad, people can get hurt
Yeah.
and so on. And but you still need to publish what was it, 200 blog posts per month. That's a tricky balance in my head.
Yeah. Yeah. So uh, we didn't start at the beginning with that high um, number of articles. We start with around 40 to 50, which is already pretty high. I'm very in favor of working with people that have been working um, before. So if I add my 2 cents here is like, if you have a team of writers, or if you have an agency or a freelance or in-house team that you have been working with before, and they understand your principles and the overall SEO approach, and they're good on what they're doing, just there's no need for you to change teams. Just use them because it will save you a lot of time. Uh, at the same time, we try to stick on again on a specific number of people. It was a team of in-house and outsourced writers, but we try to keep it pretty strict and try to, let's say, test before we actually onboard someone, because we needed to have this high standard. Um, at the same time, we introduce some stages of text. I always create an issue brief for each keyword. This brief is like comes from individual research for this given keyword. I think, uh, of course, SEO has some basics that you could apply on all articles and all pages, but in order to stand out, you need to handle its keyword individually, understand what the searcher needs um, when it's looking for this keyword. What are what is the competition doing? I mean, for me, it's like super important to make sure that not copy the competition, but make sure that you have um, the knowledge, you have awareness of what they're doing. Let's take a pretty simple example with baby names. Even if we did the best SEO possible um, out there, and we had a great writer, and everything was really great. If we were, publishing a post that had 50 great friends' baby names, and the top three results had like 200, 150, and 300. I mean, from my point of view, we're already starting with lower chances to rank high, just because our content probably is not enough to outrank competition.
so what? Because when you mention the example you mentioned here is in terms of type of content, but also in terms of how big an article it needs to be.
I I
And
would
it
say I would say not just uh, how long an article would be, but um, the approach of the article and what type of information it has. Um, I never say and advise companies or writers to write, 2 or 3 thousand words. This for writing and creating a long form content. I'm always saying like, just write an article that once you read it, you'll be okay. I don't need to hit the back button and move to the next. search result. As long you answer the query with your article, even if it's like 300 words, it's fine. I'm just saying that um, there are always some hints when you check the competition. So if you are searching about the top honeymoon destinations for Europe and you have a list of 10 and the whole, the top 5 results have 30, 40, 50, 60, then from a marketeer perspective, from marketeer's eye, these results stand out more than yours. So you already start
True.
the race, um, a bit behind. So I'm always taking into consideration this. I'm creating an SEO brief. This SEO brief has all these things that I want the writer to take in consideration in order to, let's say, create the best available content out there. Then the stage is like ready for the writer to pick once the SEO brief is ready. The writer picks the brief, works on the article. Then we have the draft review. So SEO reviews the draft, and if the draft is okay, and there's nothing, no change is required, no comments from an SEO perspective, then the next step is for another part of the team of the content team in house. Either it's like brand or like your content manager, depending on how small or how big your team is, to check in order to see, are we following, the brand manual? Are we using terminology that we want to use? Our, uh, over brand is there. So this was our approach. And at the same time, we also try to use some experts on that we have been collaborating in order to review some very difficult topics, sensitive topics for us. But the more time we were spending with the same writers, and the more articles we were producing, and the more revisions we had on their drafts, the better they have been becoming. So at the end, it was mostly a matter of timing for me and the whole team to do the research, create the briefs, review, and actually upload the article, because the uploading is also very, very time consuming activity.
Dimitris, one question I get very much from B2B SaaS founders, like, where do I find good content people? Because myself personally, I have tested 100 plus different content writers, and the quality is, everything from really crappy to amazingly great. Uh, but I haven't, found this consistent source of like where to find good talent with this. At least on your outer team, not your
Yeah,
core team. Any thoughts on that?
that's a good question. Very tricky. I think you described it really, you know, great. Uh, there are a lot of writers out there, and you could find really awesome ones, but at the same time, you could um, find some lazy ones, some people that they're really great writers, but they're not understanding SEO, or they don't want to understand, face both sides. So I think talking specifically for SEO content, I think you need also to focus on a writer that is not just a good um, on writing, but also he or she is good on understanding the overall um, SEO approach on an article, text from the text structure, from including some keywords or some FAQs, and the overall, thing. I would say that um, from my experience, referrals. So word of mouth is something that worked really great for me. So personally, I have been referred to an agency which is called KYO. Um, and have been working with them since my Rebel days. And it's like my first recommendation when someone asks me about, do you have any recommendations regarding a good content writer or good content writers? So this content agency is great. Matt, the owner, is a good friend of mine after like almost 3 years of working together on multiple projects. But I mean, just an agency, so I wouldn't recommend this agency for everyone. I would
Sure.
say that um, in most cases, you could refer to other people inside the industry that you respect. So other SEO guys that you admire their work, and you say, "Do you have someone to recommend?" So I'm a bit in favor of already, let's say, tested people, and try not, to find uh, new
Needle in
and
the
cheap
haystack.
solutions. No, I think that the pitfall that a lot of people face is like um, they try to save money from onboarding a writer, and they say like, yeah, we could use Upwork or other websites that they have content writers, or they could use some websites that they have you just assign the keyword to a writer. But at the end, the whole edits and back and forth that you end up doing is like costly. So I would say try not to find the cheaper one. Try to find the one that will help you for the long run. And some tips on how you can do it is like, as I said, just refer to two, three guys that you respect from the industry, and directly asking like, I mean, in need of a bunch of writers or a writer. Do you have someone that you have worked and you can recommend? So step one is this. If you don't have, or if you want to, let's say, um, hire someone and you're just in talks, or you just open up a position, I would say definitely ask him or her for some uh, examples of the work. And, I mean, at the end of the day, if they're doing good work, they would have some examples, and they say like, okay, do you have some examples to share regarding, articles that you have written and they're pretty high on the rankings? And you can understand very easy how they approach the whole SEO thing, SEO content thing.
True points. Interviewed a ton of writers over time, and I've kind of like, I know it's a bit black and white, but split them in two groups. There's like the people that understand SEO. Of course, they all understand SEO, great, to some degree. But then there are the ones that also understand conversion, because we actually want people to do
Yeah.
something when they go to our site. So I completely agree with testing them. Show me some content you've done. Did they put in call to actions or whatever, or did the blog post just end up in like nothing space, or was there actually or whatever it is, so it can at least contribute to bringing in to growing the business?
think, I think, you said it all. I think at the end of the day, I mean, we're talking about traffic and increasing the numbers there, but at the end of the day, you just need to um, translate this traffic to leads, sales, revenue, downloads, whatever is your main goal and KPI. The most important part is like to have some sample uh, that you can analyze. Like for example, for Peanut, we had nothing, so we tried to create content that could, let's say, answer different stages of our audience, different life stages. So we could then, once we got the rankings and the traffic, could get a better understanding about who performs best or not. At the same time, I'm a very big fan of conversion rate optimization. So I think you need, once you have the traffic, you need to start testing everything, testing the CTAs, testing the wordings, testing everything on the page, and before saying like, okay, this content doesn't work for us. Just make sure that you have tested everything, you tried everything, and then yeah, if it doesn't work, then there's no need for you to invest time and money there. Just focus on some other content, like for Workable, for example. Uh, it was a very mature business by the time I joined. So what we were doing with the content team back then was like, okay, we know that there are like two, three types of content that work. Let's find out what brings the higher sales. So we try to create some reports uh, which showcase that a specific topic was driving the higher revenue, even in plain numbers were lower. So, even if we had, let's say, uh, um, 100 MQLs from this type of content, and the other type of content had like, let's say, 5 MQLs. At the end of the day, the sales and the revenue from the second topic was significantly higher. So we said like, okay, what else we could write so we could, increase our revenue. But um, these decisions, this approach requires, definitely um, a maturity that you cannot have. It's impossible to have at the first year of business.
Sure. So, looking at the team, we've been talking about going from 0 to 2 million. We're talking about what the team needs to look like and what the profile of content writers needs to be. And you've vaguely alluded to some reporting that we'll finish up with today, but it's also a lot of different competencies, right? So if you focus on generating the traffic in the beginning and creating the content, and then you do optimization for conversion to leads and MQLs, that's probably a different person. To have everything into one person that does SEO and this will make it increasingly more complicated to find people. So what did the team look like, say, at the end of the
Yeah,
first year? What does that team look like? Because that could be quite complex to manage.
yeah. So when I joined Peanut, yeah, there was like almost no one. There was no team. It's because the product was mostly working on the actual product. So if we want, and the website was just like 5 or 6 pages, same page policy, download and our story. The more we grew, the better business case we were building in order to have more resources. At the beginning, we were kind of sharing a web engineer from the product team, but at some point when organic acquisition was pretty high, and the traffic graph was among the higher and the better reports that we could share. Um, we ended up having like 2 web engineers for handling all the technical uh, requests, and by technical I mean not just technical SEO, but also changes regarding CTAs or adding specific CTAs on specific articles. So anything that needs to be done from an engineering perspective to the web pages, we had the person that was kind of owning the web in general is a medium. So this person was mostly working on conversion rate optimization and find ways that can unlock the traffic. So we had the traffic. We're also driving some paid initiative. We're doing some paid initiatives and some other referral stuff. So we were thinking about like, okay, what conversion looks like. What if we first, have a first step of, let's say, acquire some emails and build some campaigns and then nurture. And then, even if there's no um, direct download as a first stage, let's introduce Peanut, because in most cases, there are people who haven't seen Peanut before, or they were testing a web version, the lighter version of the app on the web, just to remove the friction, and try to offer this option so we could see if there's an impact on the conversion rate. We had a content writer, in-house content writer, a designer. So I think it was the most often evolution of having almost no one to in a web team that has, some engineering stuff. They have someone to handle commercial rate optimization, someone to support the writing, but also understands SEO. So they could support myself as well on some basic SEO stuff. And a designer in order to build and maintain a web as an acquisition machine, an organic acquisition machine. You need to have the right people in the right places.
So you are monitoring the whole keyword analysis and making sure that this and this content was created to make up the whole structure of the website and cover all your topics.
Yeah,
Uh,
along
and
with
then content writers, and you need designers, UX designers, to help with A/B split testing and making. And you need some technical people. When I do this, one of the things that I like to have is a guy that monitors what is not immediately apparent on a page or across all pages, and that's the internal link structure, the menus, and sort of
yeah,
the meta layer above all the content that's being written. And I would like to have somebody do that, because managing the whole scope of keyword analysis and content being created, and making sure that the internal linking and the reporting and the A/B split testing, it becomes bigger than you actually realize quite fast, right?
yeah. I know. I'm in favor of that as well. Like, I would say that for me, I was working a lot also on a lot more stuff. Like, apart from the content planning, keyword researching and stuff, I was also monitoring the technical SEO, the internal building. For me, it was among the top factors of success. We're, leveraging at this at most, and also some offsite. But at the same time, we need to take in consideration that when you work with a startup, it's all about funding, and you have some resources when the Series A comes, and then when you scale and you need to scale more, you just wait for the Series B. So it's kind of you need to keep up the balance. So if I would say, if you ask me about like um, you know a Series B team look like at Peanut, would be at least two more guys on ICO doing, I'm in favor of like all arounders. So I wouldn't say that, you would have someone treat the technical part and then someone for the link building, either it's like internal or offsite. But I prefer someone that is probably an expert on one field, but at the same time, it definitely support all the other elements, because you will, if not, you will end up with siloed members inside your own team, which is not great at all.
Yeah. So how many people did you have on the team, including, it's hard to count if you're using an agency, but how many people did you have on the team at the end of 12 months?
Well, I would say it would be around, we were around 10 people. So the external content writers were around 6 to 7. We had in-house content writers that were supporting also the uploading, internal building, and some other SEO initiatives. Myself, of course, a web engineer, like the second joined after the first year, and a designer. So I would say around 10 people.
So
But
around
we were
7, 8
flexible.
so around 7, 8 actual content writers producing
Yeah,
around
yeah,
200
yeah.
pieces per month.
Yeah, I would say this was like the very top of our production. It
Sure.
wasn't something that was happening, consecutively the whole year. So I would say on average we were producing um, for 6 months around uh, 300, 300 to 350 articles on a quarterly basis. So on average
Okay.
around 120 to 100
Yeah, yeah,
pieces
yeah,
of
yeah.
content on a monthly basis.
Okay. So around
Okay.
15 pieces each per copywriter per month,
Yeah.
basically. Pretty
That's
high,
manageable.
actually. I mean,
I mean, if it's not very technical, I got an industrial manufacturing customer, and there's no way you could produce 15 pieces of content
No,
as a single person.
it totally
So it
depends
all
on
depends, right?
yeah, it totally
Yeah.
depends. I have the same thing in talks out there now because some articles require more research. So
Yeah.
this translates to more time. Some other are like more, listings formats and stuff, or like quotes or baby names. So you definitely need to do some research, but
Yeah.
it's pretty doable.
And I
So
think
you need to have
also,
a fair
I think,
split of,
sure.
of content.
And, and I think also, depending on your industry, you may or may not depend heavily on video, for example. But in industrial manufacturing, it doesn't work so well talking about the machinery
Yeah.
and reading about it. It's a lot more effective to see it on video
Yeah.
and
That's
it
good.
get so video also takes part of a significant part of the production, right? And the cost. So it all depends because that has a big impact on conversion as well, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
running,
I think it totally depends. Sorry, just to supplement this. Like, it really depends on what works for you. And at the end of the day, if uh, I'm always saying that you don't have to you mustn't actually sacrifice quality over quantity. So if you can produce just 5 pieces of content, but with the highest quality and making sure that these have the the highest chances of ranking pretty high and converting, instead of writing 20 or 30, which is like
no,
an average quality that you may end up ranking or not, then you always go with the choice one.
true. But
so the world doesn't need any more content, but it needs better content.
Yeah, I
So
think.
we're Dimitris, when you run a team like this and you go from zero, you start burning a lot of cash, and you have to wait in the best of. This is the nature of SEO. You don't get traffic immediately, but you have to trust you're going in the right direction. And as you get the traffic, you need to make sure that it converts. So, what does the reporting look like? Because the reporting obviously changes as you go through
Yeah.
the phases. But what did the reporting look like for you in the beginning, and what did it look like for you in the end?
Yeah, so I always try to have a staged approach in terms of like goals and KPIs. So uh, talking specifically about peanut and having nothing prior, I would say that first I'm trying to have in ideal world a quarterly splitting reporting where at the beginning we start with some KPIs regarding the technical SEO and the health of the website, because this is also very important. I mean, there are like a lot of tools having a health score. So I'll try to have a KPI regarding the deliverables. So I would say how much content we produced specifically for SEO for this quarter. Uh, on the next quarter, I'm moving to the total number of non-branded keywords on the region that you're targeting as a first page result. And if you want to be even more aggressive, detailed, or overall challenging, you could have a split between the first three spots and then the next ones. Because at the end of the day, the first three spots have a higher CTR.
And the most traffic.
Exactly. On the next quarter, of course, it comes the organic traffic, the non-branded organic traffic, since all this work that you have been doing on the first 6 months. So it's to traffic, hopefully. And then as a last step, it could be the conversions, or like depending on what you define as a conversion, if it's like an email capture or leads or whatever. This could be, I think, a framework I'm trying to use when I start from point zero, and as a next stage, I would definitely add revenue, payback, and stuff that you have. Although there's always some asterisks. For example, if you're not doing any conversion rate optimization, even if you have um, a conversions KPI and reporting, that it's kind of, you're missing a big opportunity, because if you have the traffic and you're not doing anything regarding improving conversion rate, maybe the traffic is, in most cases, I think the traffic is not wrong. You're not capturing wrong traffic. You're just missing an opportunity regarding how you can convert this traffic.
Yeah, so back to user intent and put in the right next steps for the user. That is a logical course of action. So I looked at your website, Dimitris, and you have shared some reporting suggestions. And if you let us know where we can catch up with you and reach you, including your own website, because I think you have great information and help there for us who's trying to become even better at SEO and almost as good as you. So
Thanks.
take us there.
So yeah, I have my personal website, which is dimitrisdrakatos.com. I feel a bit bad because over the past year I haven't shared much information because of a lot of things happening in my life, including lastly my wedding. But I think for someone that needs to find me or needs to ask me, the best option, the best medium would be LinkedIn, my LinkedIn profile. I'm very active there. I'm not that active as I want, but most people say that I'm really good and active. So I would say it's true. I'll take it. So my LinkedIn profile and then my website for some information that I try to gather and create some articles. I have already some drafts of actual guides about, like, I found them really helpful over my career for the past year. So I'm planning to publish them soon. So stay tuned. But
So we'll have your links to your website and LinkedIn profile in the show notes. So tune into that. So thanks a million for your time, Dimitris, and congratulations on your wedding. Thank you for joining us on today's episode of the Messy Growth Show. Check out the upcoming guests on the messygrowthshow.com. You can subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and YouTube. And if you do have any comments, feedbacks, or suggestions of topics that are of particular importance to you as owner or marketer in the software or manufacturing industry, please do reach out to us on messygrowthshow.com. To see you on the next episode of the Messy Growth Show.